Monday morning. Just coming to the end. The time is 5:32. We got our punctual day shift guy. I gotta make a stop at the bank to deposit some money, and then I gotta go fuel up, and I just want to go home now. It was busy before midnight, and then after midnight it was long. But I did have my generous customer who went on a couple of $24 rides, one there and one back. He gave me $40 for each one. I got about 280 on, so yeah, the morning was slow, but that's okay. I did all right, you know, all told. We're getting towards the end of January already. And things are a little slow. February is usually the slowest month of the year, so it should be, well, relatively quiet. Maybe we'll get a few more drivers coming back. I don't know. Yeah, 4 more nights to go this week. This Monday night has not been going very well. I got a late start, about an hour later than I usually start, but that in itself is not a bad thing. I probably needed to sleep more than I needed the money I could have made in that one first hour of my shift. So I got to work an hour late. No big deal. What it is that I fell asleep reading while my oven was preheating. When I finally did wake up, okay, I put the meat in the oven and so on and so on. So I came to work, and it took a while till I got my first trip. And it took a while till I got my second trip. It took another while till I got my third trip. And by the time, let's just say I only had 2 trips by 10 o'clock. And then the third trip, I pick up the guy and we end up going to an apartment building. And he wants to pay with Interac. But he made a big mistake. He put his PIN number in where the tip was supposed to go in. And the fare that was $13.80 ended up being $76.73. When I got the machine back, I told him, I said, I don't think you wanted to tip me quite that much. And he said, no, I didn't. And I said, okay. Then I tried to figure out how to refund, because the Interac machine has a bunch of menus and menus within menus. So where would the refund be? I don't know. I never had to refund anyone anything on it. Finally, after digging around and going through menus, we found the refund. And so I proceeded to try and refund him his $62.93. But you know what? When we tap the card, or when we put the card in the machine, or we swipe the machine, swipe the card in the machine, it would not work. It would just say not accepted. Oh, really? You want me to go there? Yuck. So I ended up I ended up refunding the guy in cash because I couldn't refund him using the machine. So I, yeah, refunded him in cash. $63. So now I have a grand total of $15 on. Or $15 in cash on. Everything else has been Interac. And now I'm being sent to a homeless shelter. Yay! I'll let you know how the night went by the end of it. We're almost halfway through now and I haven't made my lease yet. Well, that next call from the homeless shelter was actually quite good. It went out towards the direction of the airport. Not to the airport, but in that direction. For $50. So that turned things around considerably. And I just counted how much I made for the night. And it was $171. So it could have been a lot worse. This was a very slow one. There was a lot of time spent waiting. I've done 2, 4, 6, 8, 9 trips, and usually I do twice as many trips as that. So yeah, it worked out all right. It worked out. So I'm just gonna go wash the car. I don't need to hit the bank because I refunded. I gave almost all my cash to refund that guy's mistake on the Interac machine. So I don't have to go to the bank. But I got the Interac slips from that, and most people paid with Interac tonight. So yeah, I'm just gonna, even though I slept much of the shift, I'm still yawning. So I'm gonna wash the car, detail it, the interior, fuel it, and go to my chiropractor appointment. And 3 more nights to go this week. This Tuesday night started out sleepy. It was quiet, and then at some point, I guess around, oh, let's see, 9 o'clock or so, it started to get a little busier. But it was spread out far and wide enough, which was okay, except that I was just bone tired the whole time. I just wanted to go to sleep. And that's the way it was the whole night. Right now I'm just on my way to make a little deposit at the bank. I had a couple fares from my generous customer. Oh, I kind of expected that to happen. They have these speed bumps all over the place, and if the phone is just a little bit precariously balanced, boom, down it goes. I don't know, sometimes I think of getting one of those phone holders, and then I think, what for? This is a low budget production after all. Equipment is the, you know, smallest part of it. The phone has a camera built in, it does the job. And I don't need any fancy mounts, it's just more hardware to carry around. Yeah, I got about 290 on, which, you know, is acceptable. I'm just weary. Just weary. It's pretty cold out. It's pretty warm in here. And I don't look forward to walking home in the cold after being in here in the warm. Needless to say, I don't think I'm going to go on my walk this morning. It's a little cold. Excuse me. Oh, yeah. 2 more nights to go this week. What a thrill. Oh, this was the Wednesday night. I'm pulling out of the car wash. I should turn the light on here. There we go. Yeah, it was one of those where I had almost as many trips as I usually do. But the trips were short this time. So instead of doing 350, I did 230 because they were mostly short trips. It was just one of those nights. I got caught up on watching YouTube on all of the subscriptions I have with my 3 existing channels. 2 of those channels are active, on which I still post videos. Well, yeah, it was a little slower, so I got to finish watching all the videos that I'm subscribed to on the 3 remaining channels that I have. And I was even able to watch some watch later things that I have in my watch later lists. I watched a couple of movies and a couple of shorter things. Yeah, YouTube has a lot of movies, and I've earmarked a lot of them that I would want to see someday. But usually I'm so busy watching the current uploads that I don't get to the watch later lists very often. So it was nice to check out an old movie or 2. And a couple other shorter things. Not much else to say. Nothing really eventful happened all night. Oh, except for at the end. I was taking someone to work, and she said that she hurt her rib. She may have cracked it. Anyway, she was moving slow. She's a little bit handicapped, this customer of mine. She works at a donut shop, and she usually takes her time because she's something wrong with her legs. She doesn't move very fast. But this time she was moving slower than usual, and when she got in the car she was breathing harder than usual, and I said, yeah, you seem to be moving slower than usual. And she said, well, yeah, I hurt my rib. I go, oh. And she says, and they say that you can't really do anything about it. Yeah, I said, ribs are tricky. I've never hurt one myself, but ribs are tricky in that you can't really wrap them. You can't really, you know, put a compress on them or anything. A rib just has to heal on its own, without any help and without any, you know, you can't really bind it. So I got her to her place of employment, and she dropped the money on the floor in the car, so I had to retrieve it for her. And then she proceeded to go into the shop But then somebody came by and says, I think you'll have to take her back home. She's in no condition to work. And you should have seen how her face was all scrunched up in pain. And she wasn't, she was breathing hard. And I said, so what do you want to do? Do you want to go to emergency or go home? And she said, just give me a minute. And she took her time to get in. I said, take as much time as you need. It's okay. And I said, well, what do you want to do? I said, I can take you to the hospital right now. And she says, well, no, I think I'm going to go home and I'm going to wait and see if I feel better. If I don't, then I'm going to go to the hospital. And she says, it's really hard, you know. I live alone. There's nobody to help me. And I said, I know. She said, I live alone. There's nobody to help me, so this is overwhelming. I said, well, yeah. Well, you just got to do what you got to do. You don't owe me anything for this ride home anyway. It wasn't very far. And she already paid me, you know, much more than what the fare was anyhow, so it still came out under how much she gave me when I got her home. I said, you've been very generous with me, so, you know, don't worry about it. It's okay. And she moved very slowly up the steps to the front door of her building. She said, but before she did that, when we just arrived at her place, she says, I can't afford to take any time off. I said, yeah, but sometimes you gotta, you know, and worry about it later. You gotta concentrate on getting well first. And when you're well, you can, you know, think of recovering from financial loss of missing a few days. And what's this guy got? He's gonna walk in front of me? Yeah, he's gonna walk in front of me. This truck and another vehicle. It's that time of the morning where it's starting to come into town. All these cars are starting to come into town from out of town to go to work and to clog up the streets. Just showing up at the bank now. At least I will have some money to deposit. But on a whole, it has not been a great week. Yeah, one more night to go. Can't wait for that to be over. Okay, the time is now 5:54. I just dropped my last customer off. And I'm done for the night. I've done well enough. It was somewhat busy before midnight. There was a while there where I was connecting one right after another. Boy, that's tiring. And then I had I got to go to sleep a few times in the morning hours. And people do some strange things when it comes to cabs. There was one early on, actually she was my second fare of the night, I think. Yes, second fare of the night. She called for a cab, and just as I'm arriving at the building where she was, just as I'm arriving, I get canceled. So now I'm driving away from the place, heading back to where I like to sit and rest. And I get sent there again. And there she is waiting outside, and she said that she had to go to the pharmacy. And did I get the message? I said, well, yeah, I got the message after you booked the cab for the second time. And the message was I have to make 2 stops on the way. And I don't see how that's relevant. And she says, oh, well, it's because, you know, I lived in Edmonton and I used Uber all the time. And with Uber, you have to book the whole trip and all the stops you're going to make and so on and so on and so on. So, okay. She wanted to go to the pharmacy, basically. And then after she'd been to the pharmacy, she wanted to go to a cannabis retailer. I guess they call them dispensaries. Yeah, she had to go to a dispensary. And when she was at the pharmacy, she was in there and she was right out of there, like immediately. And then at the dispensary, she took 25 minutes. And that was no concern. She was spending her time. I could even see her inside the shop where she was picking stuff off a computer screen and picking stuff off a computer screen. And she was there for 25 minutes at that computer screen. I guess it was a electronic catalog, and she was just, you know, going through that. Well, she ended up getting her stuff, and she ended up going back home. And I asked her, if it was an Uber, how would they account for the time, the waiting time? Because the Uber, they charge you apparently straight off your trip to the credit card before you've even got in the car. And I say, how do they account for the time? And she says, well, if the driver ends up waiting too long, when the time is used up, he'll just drive away. Oh, so he won't wait for you? No, he'll just drive away. Once he reaches a certain amount of time or money or whatever, when it's not worth his while anymore, he'll just leave. I say, oh, well, that makes sense. Anyway, she spent $33 and tipped me $4.50. So that was rather nice. And after that, I went through the whole night, and the last one was kind of weird. I got sent to one of those motels that was converted into a homeless shelter. And I took this little old woman a good distance to go to somebody else's house to pick up her identification. And I'm asking, how does your identification end up at somebody else's house? Why wouldn't it be on you the whole time? And she says, well, I'm always losing things. I'm going, whoa. I could tell she was attracted to me. Why is it always that old women, old women, are the ones who are attracted to me? Maybe because I'm getting to be an old man. I don't know, but you know. Anyway, I'm at the gas station, so I hope yours is better than mine.